Hi, everyone. It's good to see so many faces. Why do I keep saying faces when I can't see you? I don't know. It's been a long day here at GFWC. And let me tell you, we are working hard for you. But this evening, we are going to have our second webinar in our series that I think has just kicked off very well last week. And tonight, we're going to hear from a GFWC staff member who's been with us for 8 years, and we all know him, and he's a wonderful person to be the head of our legislation action center here that we have, the LAC as it's called. And so you'll hear from him soon. We thank you again for taking time out of your evening. We know the weather across the country is different for all, and all of us are experiencing some different weather, but I'm glad you're safe and home and warm and cool at home. And so tonight's going to be a great webinar as well. And I am going to introduce our GFWC Legislation and Public Policy Chairman, Juliet Casper, who will do some housekeeping and introduce Darrell Jones to all of us. And he'll have that great, big, wonderful smile that we all love. Juliet, are you ready for the evening?
I'm ready, Madam President. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to our second session of our webinar series, The Power of You, GFWC Advocacy. Like Deb said, my name is Juliet Casper, and I am in Little River, South Carolina. And I'm serving as the GFWC Legislation Public Policy Committee Chairman. I represent the Southern region. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Feel free to comment in the chat where you're from, name of your club. If you have questions, though, we'd like you to pose those in the question and answer board, the Q&A. And I'll be monitoring that. So at the end of our session, I'll be posing those questions, to the group, and we'll get you some answers. So if you can remember just to put the questions in the Q&A, that would be wonderful. In this webinar, the speaker can't see you, and you can't see any of the other attendees. But it is going to be interactive. So there will be some polls. And we want you, they'll come up on your screen, and we'll want you to answer those as quickly as you can so that we can keep the discussion and the training going tonight. We will announce the poll results that you see on the screen so that our recording will include that information. And we are recording this session like we did last week's session, and they will be available at a later date for members to view and maybe share at a club meeting if they wanted. So tonight, we're excited to have Darrell Jones here to talk about the Legislative Action Center. Darrell is a graduate of Howard University, and he received his master's in public administration in 2021 from the University of Baltimore. He's originally from that Baltimore area. He lives now still in Maryland, but a suburb of DC. And like Deb said, he's been with GFWC for 8 years. So Darrell, are you ready to tell us why LAC is for me?
I am ready. Thank you for that introduction. Like she said, everyone, I'm Darrell Jones. I'm your programs manager, and I want to welcome you guys to this second installment of our advocacy series, LAC is for me. And we really do mean that. The LAC is for you. It's a tool for you. It's for you to contact your elected officials. It's for you to educate yourself on the issues that GFWC is putting forth, but also for the issues that you might be interested in individually. And we're excited to talk about that a little bit later. But for a tool that is for you, I think the best way to kick off this webinar is to hear from you. So we're going to start off with a poll and hear from you guys. So the question that we have for you is how do you most commonly see our legislative action requests? And that could be from emails directly from the Legislative Action Center, emails shared by your club or state leadership, visiting the Legislative Action Center directly, GFWC News and Notes, or through social media like Facebook and Twitter.
Ah, great choices, Darrell. This is going to give us a lot of insight on how we're reaching our members with
I think so
LAC.
too. This is very important. So we need all of your participation. We're at 92% now. So
Oh, good.
more seconds to get those last minute votes in. And the results, I will end the poll now and share them with you. So it looks like most of you are getting emails directly from the LAC. We're at 64% there. 11% of you get emails from your club or state leadership. 5% visit the LAC directly. 19% get it from news and notes. And none of you said that you got it from social media. So that's interesting. We might need to do some more sharing there.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So thank you guys for your responses. Well, that is good to know. Because that helps us segue into the first part of our webinar is actually viewing the Legislative Action Center and signing up for alerts. I'm glad so far that most of you do receive your alerts by email directly from the Legislative Action Center, because that is the primary way that we want you to take action. And that is the quickest way to be able to take action in a timely manner. When we get something out there, you know, it takes a little time for social media and for your leadership to send out things. But if you are subscribed to our Legislative Action Center, you will get the alert immediately and will be able to take action quick. So Juliet, I just want to confirm with you that we're sharing the LAC.
That's right. That's right. I can see it.
All right, just wanted to make sure. So the first thing that we're going to do is sign up for alerts on the left side of your screen. So the best way to do this is to enter your email. I'm going to use my work email, dnjones@gfwc.org. And then I will use, I think I'll use the headquarters zip code just for now, because that's how currently the Legislative Action Center recognizes me as a DC resident under headquarters. But to register for or subscribe to the Legislative Action Center, you'll see your first name, your last name, and you'll need to fill that information out. You'll need to put in your email right here. And then this box right here will say your GFWC club name. That's what you're going to want to put right there. Again, I'm going to put GFWC headquarters. And then you put your address. Tonight, I'll be using the 610 Hill Road address tonight. That's the community center in my neighborhood. So that's the address that we will use tonight. But I will actually start with a different one because I want you guys to be able to see something. I want you guys to be able to see what it looks like when you actually do register. Headquarters, and then we'll do 1734 N Street, Northwest, Washington, DC, 20036. That is headquarters. Now, for some of you, you may see this. You may get a notification if you are changing your information or updating your information. They will send you a code to your email, and you'll get a verification code and type it in. I just wanted to show you guys that, because some members have told me that they've received this message. So just check your email. You'll get a 4-digit code, and you'll just enter it here. And in within a few seconds, you don't need to press enter or anything, and you certainly don't want to press cancel. Just enter your 4-digit code there. You may not actually get this code at all, but some of you might. It just depends. It's hit or miss. But yes, that's how you subscribe. I won't do it, but that'll save that information there, and all you'll have to do is press save. Now, the next thing you want to do, yes.
Well, before you leave that screen, I like that it already has checked, send me an email and remember me. That's the default now, right?
Yes. So you'll
Awesome.
see 2 check boxes. Those are very important. And thanks for pointing that out, Juliet. Send me email alerts and remember me. The top one, send me email alerts, is very important. Now, these are automatically checked now, so you don't have to worry about them too much, but you should double check and make sure that they do have blue checks inside of them. Because if you don't click on send me email alerts, you won't get our alerts directly to your email. The remember me button is just so that when you're filling out information on the Legislative Action Center, you don't always have to put in your address. You don't always have to put in your name. It should remember you if you're on the same device. Our logo at the top of the screen, and you'll see this on the top of every screen that we use on the Legislative Action Center. It'll always be there. That will always take you to the homepage. Now, it'll probably open up a new tab. As you can see, it did, but there you go. So we're going to, after we sign up, the first thing you want to do after signing up is taking action. This is the most important part. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on the back end, but it is extremely important that you take action. We don't just need you to sign up and build up our numbers. We need you to take action on our issues. So please, please, please make sure that when you sign up and you receive email alerts, you take action. Let's show you how to do that. So you're going to click on an alert. Tonight, I chose the End Sexual Assault on College Campuses alert. This one does not have a specific piece of legislation tied to it. It is very general, and it's an evergreen alert, so it never really goes away. It just shows that we want our U.S. representatives and senators to take action on sexual assault on college campuses and proposed legislation that addresses that, because it's constantly an issue on college campuses. So here is what you would do. You would want to enter your information, Mr. Use DN Jones at GFWC.org. GFWC club name. And so you'd fill out that information, but before I fill it out, I want you to notice, once I filled out that information, at the top, it populated with who my members of Congress are. So you see my senator is Ben Cardin, my other senator is Chris Van Hollen Jr., and then my representative in the House is Glenn Ivey. So those are the 3 people that I'd be sending a letter to. So once you fill out this information down here, it'll populate who you're sending a letter to. Now, as long as you clicked remember me, like we discussed on the last page, this information would already be filled out, and those members would already be at the top for you. You can also tweet. This would go as an email letter to your members of Congress, but you can also tweet your members of Congress. This is what the tweet would look like and who it would go to: Senator Ben Cardin and Senator Chris Van Hollen for me. It looks like at this point, Glenn Ivey, who is a new representative in Congress, he was just elected this year. So it looks like at this point, he doesn't have a Twitter account or has not activated one yet. And that's okay. Some members don't participate in every avenue, and that is perfectly okay. You just move forward with what you can do in that moment. But this is the tweet that would be sent out. And as you can see, I have 17 characters remaining. So you could edit that. But in general, it would probably be full. So you wouldn't really have to worry about that. Again, your information is at the bottom. And then there's the option to call your member of Congress. Again, you can see who my members of Congress are. What you're going to want to do at this point in time is click on the phone. And then it'll take you to a pop-up will come up on your page. Call Senator Ben Cardin, and it'll provide you with the DC office number. So later on, you'll get more information about how to call your local or in-state offices. But for the purposes of our alerts, everything goes to the DC offices. And once you dial the number and you get a representative on the phone, you'll just tell, the first sentence is very important. Just letting them know who you are, what your name is, what city and state, and letting them know that you are a constituent of the elected official. And you'd say their name there, of course, but letting them know that you are a constituent. If you are a member in Utah, they want to make sure that you are a voter in Utah and not a random, or not random person, but not someone calling from New York. Members of Congress want to hear from the people that they represent, and they want to, and they will take you a lot more seriously because they know that you are a voter for them. Here we have just a bit of background information. I encourage you to read the alert completely through before you do place the call. It's better to be a bit more conversational than to just read the bullets. So that's why I want you to just familiarize yourself with the information and then just have a conversation with the person on the phone. It'll be a brief call. They will not stay on long with you, but just to make sure that you have all the information and that you're conversational with them. And then begin to talk about being a member of the General Federation of Women's Clubs and urging them to support whatever piece of legislation that we're talking about in that moment. So once you've done that and you've completed the call, you'll see this at the bottom. You want to keep this on your screen. Did you complete your call? You'll want to say, yes, I spoke with someone. Yes, I left a voice message. Or no, I did not speak to anyone. So we're going to click, yes, I spoke to someone tonight. And they're going to ask, with whom did you speak? You could speak to the senator or a representative or someone else. And more than likely, it's going to be someone else. So tonight we'll enter a name and we'll say Juliet C. That's who we spoke with in the office. And what did the person say? The member supports. And we take as much detail as you have. Please give us more detail than this. Just tell us a little bit about your conversation, but definitely give us the main point. They support the bill or not. At that point, you'll want to click save. And then you'll see this check mark right here. It fades the icon out. You'll see a check mark right there on the top of it. And that lets you know that your message has gone through and that I've gotten an alert that you've made the call. And then you'll want to continue to do that for the rest of your calls. So that is how you take action on an alert. And there are, again, 3 ways. You can write a letter, send a tweet, or make a phone call. And I'm going to go back home again. So we're going to move on. I want to interrupt this really quickly and give you guys another poll. I didn't talk about this yet, but you should, within a few weeks, receive, depending on how large a member elected official's office and staff is, receive a response from them pretty quickly. So what should you do after receiving a response from your elected official? What should you do after receiving a response from your elected official? The options are send it to the GFWC Legislation Public Policy Chairman, send to the GFWC Programs Department, mark as a completed item on the scavenger hunt list, or all of the above. We're at about 55%, so come on and get those votes in. Tell us what you think. $87, just a little bit more. And the results are all of the above. You should definitely send it to the GFWC Legislation Public Policy Chairman and to the Programs Department. And you should mark it as a completed item on the scavenger hunt list. Juliet, did you want to talk about the scavenger hunt list just a little bit?
Sure. This is our fun way to get you involved with advocacy. And the scavenger hunt list can be found in the club manual under legislation and public policy. It can also be found in under legislation in our toolkit. And if you still can't find it, you just need to let one of us on the legislation public policy committee know, and we can email it out to you. State presidents and directors of junior clubs have received it. It is a challenge with 9 items that you can do multiple times, and we hope you do them multiple times. And there are bonus points for doing things such as sharing on social media or wearing GFWC attire in photos that we want you to take. But the legislation taking action on an alert gets you points on the scavenger hunt. Sending that response that you received to Darrell and I get you points on the scavenger hunt. So we hope you guys will all participate. You can do it as a member, you can do it as a club, or it can be done as a state. So we can get multiple scavenger hunt reports sent to us.
Thanks, Juliet. So now we're going to jump back into the Legislative Action Center for you guys. I know that you guys have seen what the Legislative Action Center can do, and what I've showed you so far isn't too different than what you've come to know over the years. You know, we've just launched a new Legislative Action Center this summer, so it looks a little different, but and what I've shown you, it still performs pretty much the same. So I'm excited to be able to show you guys some new features with this new Legislative Action Center. First, I want to show you guys some of the legislation that GFWC is monitoring and how you can keep up with the stuff that GFWC is monitoring. So I wish it was a little bit more noticeable, but that's just the way the website works for now. But you'll notice under the Find Legislation section that there is a section that says View Key Legislation. You're going to want to click on that. And that will take you to legislation that GFWC is currently monitoring. Now, it can be in different categories. Currently, we only have domestic and sexual violence awareness and prevention. Just for the sake of you guys being able to see something for the webinar, we're in a new Congress. So all of this is from the previous Congress, 117th. The new Congress is just starting up and just starting to kick off. So we aren't monitoring anything there just yet, and our committee is still getting our priorities together for the 118th Congress. But once those are ready, we will have that on here for you guys and let you guys know what bills we're monitoring. But I do want to show you on the right side of your screen, you'll see green checks. That means that GFWC supports this bill, and you can see a pop-up that says, "We support this bill." If that was a red X, it would mean that GFWC was not supporting this bill. We were against this bill. Additionally, you could see a black line just going straight across at this section as well. And that means that GFWC is simply monitoring this bill. We have not made a position on this bill yet. We are currently monitoring it just to see where it goes and potentially making a decision on it. So I want to show you what one of these bills looks like. We'll start with the Family Violence Prevention and Services Improvement Act of 2021. And that's a long name. So as you can see here, what this section will show you is the bill title and its official congressional description or title right here, a bill to amend the Family Violence Prevention and Services Act to make improvements. Then you can see a section for related bills. So this is the bill that was introduced in the House. Again, the bill that we were monitoring was in the Senate. The related bill in the House is this. And you could click on that right here to view the House bill. The category that this is you can see that there were certain categories. Is domestic and sexual violence awareness and prevention. We support this bill, of course, and this a nice little image here for it. But this right here is a more in-depth description of the bill. So you could get more detail, and this is drafted by GFWC between the Programs Department or the Legislation Public Policy Committee. So this is the information that we are providing you guys about the bill. Further down, you'll get to see who is sponsoring the bill, who introduced the bill into Congress. And you'll see co-sponsors. The co-sponsors are folks who agree with the bill and they want to sign on and have their name added to the bill. And then additionally, you'll be able to see the actions taken on the bill from it being introduced all the way to passage. This one was not passed in the Senate, so you don't see that here, but it'll take every official step that happened with that bill will be shown. Now, for more information, this is a really cool item, and I'm not sure if you'll want to take advantage of this, but if you do want to see more about the bill, you can click on this link, and it will take you to congress.gov. And here you could view the entire text of the bill if you so choose. Now, we do our best to make sure that you don't have to do this. We definitely want you guys to be able to make this as easy as possible for you guys. But if that is something you are interested in, please do. So I will click on this home logo again, so that you can always easily find your way back to the home screen. Now, above View Key Legislation, you'll see this box that allows you to search for key words. So we're going to type in domestic violence, which is GFWC's signature program. And it shows you, now you'll see, this is the updated section. This is the 118th Congress. So these are bills that have been introduced, and so far only a few in the House, that have been introduced in the House or in Congress in general, that are triggered by the term domestic violence. But if I wanted to see what's going on in my state, so let's talk about Maryland. Let's see what bills have been introduced in the Maryland General Assembly that have to do with domestic violence. As you can see, 14 bills matched this search. And they may not all be super closely tied to your term, but they were triggered in some kind of way. And you can click the next to see the rest of those bills. You can also change your term. Let's talk about elder abuse in Arizona. 2 bills. So feel free to come here. This is when the tool becomes a tool for you. It becomes a tool for your advocacy. We certainly want you to take action on the issues that are important to GFWC, but this is where the tool becomes a member benefit to make advocacy easy for your state, to make advocacy easy for your local club, and for you personally. Think of it as a member benefit, and we really, really, really want you to take advantage of it in that way. All right, so next, I'll just really quickly go over the scorecard. I don't want to spend too much time in this area, but in the scorecard, you can look here. Let's see. Norton is the DC delegate, so I will look for her. You'll see here, Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton is the delegate for DC, and only 1 bill has gone on our report card, And I won't go into too much detail, but it's bills that have been voted on in the House, and we've added them to our report card to see how members vote. So we can see that she voted for that bill. She's voted with us 100% of the time, but there's only been that one bill. If there were more bills on our report card, then you could see the percentage breakdown a little better. If a member of Congress had not voted for that bill, then they would have been 100% against us. That bill was introduced in the House, so there is no record of anything in the Senate, which is why you're seeing this spinning around now. But as we go to the US House, you can see that bill that is on our report card, HR 1620, and you can see how members voted. So some members voted in support of the bill, some voted against the bill. And as I mentioned before, you might see a black line. For us, on our key legislation, that means that we are just monitoring. Before members vote, it means that there was no position. So they either were not present or they abstained. And then down here, we'll talk a little bit about finding your officials. So this is another feature that I want you guys to look at as a member benefit. I'll put in my zip code, and my zip code is a multiple city shared zip code, so they ask me for a bit more. So I need to put in my full address because my city is split between zip codes and representation. But you may be able to do it with just your zip code. So here you'll find that there is a directory, and it tells you all of your elected officials federally and statewide. So here you can see the president, the vice president, my 2 senators, and my representatives. At the state level, you can see the governor, the lieutenant governor, and a bunch of other elected positions. It does not go to the local level, but it does do statewide elected positions. So I am here on the Legislative Action Center, and I want to talk to my governor about adding arts into our education program or expanding the arts in our education program. What I do is I click on the checkbox next to his picture and name, and then click compose message. I go here, type in my subject, type in the message body. My information is already populated because the computer remembers me. And then I'd click send message. And that message would go directly to the governor of my state or whichever elected official you chose for it to go to. So this is a really good way for you guys to take advantage of take advantage of our Legislative Action Center for your own, for the issues that you are passionate about personally, or even issues that your club or state is passionate about that GFWC has not taken up officially.
Darrell, when that message goes to the governor, does it identify you as being from GFWC?
So no, it does not identify you. And that's a good part too. I don't want to say disagree, but if it's an issue that GFWC does not have a position on, and you just want to contact an elected official about a specific issue, you can do so through our Action Center without it being attached to GFWC. It's just think of it as a tool. It is a mechanism for you to communicate with your elected officials.
Yes, it's the tool where they can send their own personal messages on personal things to their representatives, as opposed to the email when we do a legislative action alert. That message is going to be the same, and it's going to identify coming from us.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, any alert that comes from us will identify as a GFWC, and we put that in the body of the message. As a GFWC member, I urge you to take action or to pass this bill or to not pass this bill. With this one, it is just your messaging.
Great.
Another interesting feature is I'll put in the same, and you can find candidates. You'll want to check this circle for candidates. Here, you can see this election has already passed. It's the 2022 election, but I can see all of the people that were on the ballot in my area. So I can see my Senate candidates, my House candidates, my gubernatorial candidates and lieutenant gubernatorial candidates, and so on down the ballot. So you could click on one of those. I'll do Christopher Van Hollen, and you can see his campaign address, his campaign phone number, email address, website, and just a bit of personal or background information about the candidate. So that's good stuff to know about your candidates if you wanted to come here and find out more information and to find out how to contact them and get in contact with the candidates, because it's important that you certainly know who you're voting for. Up here, you'll see you can register to vote, find your polling location, and have additional voter resources. It's good to use this section, and this section will remember you, or it recognizes you. So I'll click on register to vote. It knows that I'm a Maryland resident, so it took me directly to the Maryland State Board of Elections and allows me to register to vote here on this website. All you have to do is navigate your website, but it just takes you directly there. So it's very easy to use. Again, this is not through GFWC. This is your own personal contact mechanism. So think of it as a member benefit again. And as far as state advocacy goes, you guys can submit alerts, but from the state level, and we can target just your state. So if there is legislation that is happening just within your state, we can email all California women or all Utah Club women. But that alert does have to come from your state president. So please, if you are interested in having an alert, or you have a piece of legislation that has been introduced in your state General Assembly, please inform your state legislation public policy chairman or your state president that you're interested and get permission from them or to work with them to write an alert and send that to GFWC. And we'd be happy to send that out on behalf of your state and to get the women in your state activated on that issue. Juliet, I wasn't sure if you wanted to say something that looked like you.
Someone had asked in the chat about when they send a personal message, if it's okay to attach that they are from a particular club or a particular state federation. And I think this kind of goes to the idea that we do things personally for advocacy and we do things representing a club or a state. And when you do it representing the club, you want to be sure that that is something your club has decided to advocate for, you know, that you had a vote at a meeting, that was something that you were going to do. And on the state level, the same kind of thing. States typically have resolutions, and their resolutions guide their action, just like we have resolutions on the national level to guide our actions and our alerts. And so there are some procedures about sending messages that would attach as official coming from a club or officially coming from a state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so you'll definitely want to be careful about that and know the rules of your club, your state, and of GFWC, because if you are representing GFWC and stating an opinion on a piece of legislation, GFWC must have a resolution on the books. So we did talk about a little bit about using GFWC's resolution on our last webinar. So yes, please familiarize yourself with the resolutions if you do plan on saying something with GFW as a member of GFWC and not as an individual. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is do another poll for you guys. I think this one will be a fun one to see what you guys really think about the numbers in on the Legislative Action Center. So which 3 states have the most LAC subscribers? Which 3 states have the most LAC subscribers? New York, Texas, and Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, Washington, California, Florida, New Jersey, or Massachusetts, Louisiana, and Illinois.
Shoot, I don't see my state listed. I guess I better work on South Carolina, huh?
I think everyone could use some work at this point. We want subscribers, more subscribers everywhere. We're at about 70 or 80% now. That jumped quickly. Just a few more seconds before I close the poll. And I'll show you guys what you thought before I show you the answer. All right. Share these results. So you guys thought 23% of you thought that New York, Texas, and Virginia had the most subscribers. 15% thought that Georgia, North Carolina, and Washington State had the most subscribers. 57% of you thought that California, Florida, and New Jersey had the most subscribers, while 5% of you thought that it was Massachusetts, Louisiana, and Illinois. So let's see what the answer is. California, Florida, and New Jersey. So 57% of you guys were right. But this does lead us into the back end, and I can show you guys just a little bit of the back end of the Legislative Action Center and some of the fun stuff that I can see that you guys are not able to see on a regular basis. So welcome to our webinar. Thanks for joining, because you get to see some secret stuff. So let's go home. And here you get to see a bit of a map, what I see on the Legislative Action Center. You can see the darker states show where, well, the map in general shows where our members are. So I can see where our members are, and you can see Florida is the darkest. So Florida does have the most. If you look down in the left corner of this diagram, you can see that Florida has 829 contacts. California has 559. And New Jersey has 283. So good job to those of you who guessed right. But this is just a fun feature. And I'll zoom in on Florida since it does have the most people. But what I can also see, if I click on the state, are the districts, the congressional districts in the state. And I can see even as far as what district in Florida has the most members. So you'll see Florida's 13th district, which is the Tampa area, has the most members. They have 172 Florida Federation members in their district, but Florida does have a pretty decent spread in all of their districts. So thanks to the Florida Federation for having quite a few subscribers, and we definitely want to grow that in Florida and across the board. So please do tell your folks, tell your friends, tell your GFWC club members to subscribe to the GFWC Legislative Action Center. I want to show you guys something on the back end as well, just an overview of some of our numbers. The important thing about this that I want to show you guys are the contacts versus the advocates. So the contacts means that we have 5,471 subscribers to the GFWC Legislative Action Center. And we appreciate those numbers so much. So thank you guys for subscribing. We definitely want to get those numbers higher, but thank you so much to those 5,471 members who have subscribed. But then we look here at advocates. Advocates are people who have taken action. And for this purpose, at least since we've moved to the new Legislative Action Center. So of the 5,471 contacts that we do have, only 1,482 have taken action. So we talked about this a bit more at the beginning, that it is extremely important that you not just subscribe, but when you do receive an alert, that you take action. We really do need you to take action in order for us to have one big collective voice and to have our issues heard in GFWC and in Congress, but to make sure that they know who we are as well. We sent out a total of 5 advocacy actions and 11 emails for those 5 actions. So now, just to close this out, I thank you guys for joining. I hope that you've really enjoyed this and gotten to see everything that you needed to see on the GFWC Legislative Action Center. If you do have any other questions, I am certainly available for those, but I want to close out with another poll. And I think it's really important that we know this information from you guys so that we know what our members have done and where we need to train you guys a bit more and what you guys may be interested in or not interested in. So the question is select each of the ways that you have advocated for an issue. So there are multiple answers that you can select. You don't only have to select one, you can select more than one. So please share with us each of the ways that you have advocated for an issue. Have you sent a letter? And that could be an email letter, a written letter, or through the Legislative Action Center. Have you done social media advocacy? Sending a tweet or on Facebook? Have you attended a rally, a march, or a protest? Have you called your elected officials? Have you scheduled a meeting with your elected officials? Have you written a letter to the editor? Are there other forms of advocacy that we just haven't included because there are so many ways to be an advocate? Or have you not participated in advocacy just yet?
Hey, Darrell, I see something else that's on the scavenger hunt. If you attend a rally, march, or protest, whether that is in person or virtual, which there are a lot of virtual ones these days, that gets you points on the scavenger hunt.
Well, guys, you better get out there and start getting these points. So we're at 89%. We're at 90 now. So I'm going to go ahead and close this poll and see what these results are. So most of you have sent a letter. So that is good. And I think that we've got some of our more active Legislative Action Center advocates on this webinar. So of course you guys have sent an LAC alert or written a letter or sent your own email at 90%. 34% of you have done social media advocacy. This is one of the easiest ways to advocate. 29% of you have attended a rally, a march, or protest. 38% of you have called your elected officials, which is good. I think that we can get those numbers up, but that's exciting to know that some of you are willing to call your elected officials. We'd like to get you guys doing that a bit more. 23% of you have met with your elected officials, which is extremely important in establishing relationships. So good job there. 7% of you have written a letter to the editor, and 11% have done other forms of advocacy, while 4% have not participated in advocacy just yet. But after this, you will be a GFWC advocate. We are claiming it.
Definitely. We have lots of questions, Darrell.
Definitely. Good. So that is the next section of this webinar. I know I've taken up quite a bit of your time, but if you do have questions for me, please, I am so ready to answer those.
All right, well, let me read out some of these questions. We have from one of the members in California asking whether you can sign up for multiple areas under the same email for action alerts. And I think this goes to the fact that maybe they belong in different clubs, but it's my understanding, Darrell, that the Legislative Action Center is really focused on your email address and your home address. So there wouldn't
Yes.
be a way to do it multiple areas. I think she's maybe getting at, can I contact people in multiple districts or multiple states maybe, but it would be tied to an address, correct?
Yes, it is tied to an address. So if you did do that, you would have to use multiple emails. So it is possible, but you'd have to use a separate email.
Okay, well, that's good. We also have a question about, what does it make a difference to add a personal message when you send the message to the legislators? And I don't believe when we do our action alerts, you have an opportunity to change that message at all, right?
No, not at this moment. We do try and send one uniform message to all of our all of the members of Congress so that they can recognize the
GFWC brand.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, we have another question. Again, they were asking about modifying the language in the content of the email. And that is not something that you can do with the legislative action alerts that we send out from GFWC. We want the language to be standard. The language has been vetted to make sure that it adheres to our resolutions. And so we want a unified message when it comes from GFWC.
Right.
Let's see, some other questions. Someone asked about the benefit of calling DC over the local number. I think when we were going through those options of taking action, you indicated that when the numbers come up for the call, it's the DC office.
Yes. So when you're making a call as related to one of our alerts, the DC number will pop up as a standard operating procedure. It's always the DC number. But if you want to contact your person at the local level, the directory page that I showed you guys, where you can go and find your elected officials or find a candidate, you can find their local information if you find them on that page. So look for them under the directory when you're finding your elected officials, and you can look at that there. Look at their local office there.
Great. There's a couple questions that have to do with folks have either in the past signed up for Legislative Action Center and haven't been getting alerts, or do they need to sign up for the new Legislative Action Center? And
so we did carry over our members from the other Legislative Action Center, but there was some drop off. So if you have not received any alerts, you're better safe than sorry, just going back and resubscribing. If you are already in the Legislative Action Center currently, then it won't affect you. It won't change anything. It'll just be seen as an update of information. So it won't change anything. It won't hurt you. So if you just want to be sure that you're there and that you're counted, go and resubscribe, and we'll have your most up-to-date information.
And we have not sent out an alert for 2023 because Congress has just gotten back into session. And so don't worry, you haven't missed anything for 2023. Let's see, we got a few more questions. Someone is asking about having a new district and a new member.
That is very important. So the good thing about this system is that our service provider handles all of that information. So throughout the month of January, I've seen things slowly happen, but they've been happening. I can talk to you about Maryland. We just elected a new governor, and on the 18th of January, when he was sworn in, Fiscal Note, which is our service provider, updated the information the same day. So if you have a new legislative district, whenever it went into effect, that's when it changed. So I know that there were some people that were still receiving responses from their old member of Congress. If you took action on an alert before that district changed, and then it changed before they replied to you, then they would probably tell you that you're no longer a member, or they're no longer your representative. But hopefully they would forward your message on to. And I think that with that member that we dealt with, that the member of Congress, their office did forward that message.
So we have a question as to whether the headquarters gets notified whenever anyone responds to an alert.
So I don't get an active notification of everyone that takes action on an alert, but I can go and look. So I can see that this many people took action. If I want to, I can pull a list of that. So yes, I can see.
And Darrell, just to mention, we often like to know how many people took action so that we can share that with some of the other organizations that may be advocating on the same issue, especially in the area of domestic violence. It's very helpful for us to be able to say we had, 1,000 members take action on the alert we sent out for the VAWA, the Violence Against Women appropriations.
Yes.
So it's nice that you have those statistics in the background, but I don't want anybody to worry that we have access to any of their private information. The committee doesn't get a list of names who responded. We can't share that. Sometimes people ask, they want to know who in their state have signed up for the Legislative Action Center, and we don't share that information.
Right.
We only share you have how many are signed up in your state, but not
Yes, we can only share the number of individuals that are signed up within the state, but we don't share names or emails so that someone can share that information or have it. So yes, that's why it's extremely important that you guys take action, because our relationships it does help our relationships with other organizations when we can say that so many of our women are on our Legislative Action Center and taking action on a specific issue. It improves our relationships with other outside organizations. So we do really need you, after you subscribe, to take action on alerts when they go out.
Let's see. I think there's a question, is it possible to share the state data with the state president and or state chairman for legislation and public policy? And so I think we're hearing that, at least in the chat, it looks like many people didn't know that we could use that Legislative Action Center on the state level. So that gives me an idea of what my committee needs to do. We need to push that out to the state presidents and the directors of junior clubs so that they can push it down to the club level. So that's a great question and gives us a task to do as well.
Yes.
There's a question about watching last week's. We are recording these sessions, and they will be made available to the members that registered for the webinars first, and then also to all members once we've concluded the series. And so be looking in your email, because you registered by email, you got the link by email. So when we have a link for the recordings, those will go out to your email. And then once the whole series has been done and is available to members, I'm sure Madam President will have something in news and notes about that.
Great. And someone said that they got
Absolutely.
email today, so good.
Oh, great. Any other questions you want to address, or do you want to? I'm sure both of you would agree that if anyone's question wasn't answered here this evening, I see Jolie put both your email, Darrell, and Juliet's. Please feel free at any time to contact either one of our wonderful presenters tonight. Great job, Darrell. I think wonderful comments still coming in on what an informative webinar this was. But you also have an opportunity, as Juliet has mentioned, there is a committee and there is a representative from your region who sits on this legislation public policy committee. You can always reach out to one of these wonderful dedicated committee members. And I am sure if they do not have the answer, they know exactly where to go, but they work very well. I can't be more pleased with this wonderful committee, the scavenger hunt, everything. And I can say 2 for 2 so far on the power of advocacy. So thank you all again this evening. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Darrell, for a wonderful presentation. I think we may score some more LAC advocates, and real soon. I thank you.
I
And
hope so.
yay, I know we will. And
Be
thank
sure-
you, Juliet, for the background information and keeping us on track this evening.
Yeah,
So good
so
night and have a great evening, everyone. Juliet, you have something to say?
just a little plug for next week.
Yes.
One of the questions tonight was asking about, with so many controversial women's legislative issues, how does GFWC decide what issues to take action on? And that question is something perfect in next week's webinar, because we're going to talk about how we choose our legislative priorities, how we identify bills for legislative action alerts, and we're going to talk about our successes. So be sure to register for next week, where you will hear from Debbie Bryant of Unified Solutions, who is our legislative consultant. And you'll also hear from Kathy Huggins, who is the committee member from Mississippi Valley, and Debbie Fiore, who's the committee member from New England region. So be sure to tune in next week and we'll answer that question about how do we deal with controversial issues.
Wonderful. Can't wait. All right.
Thank you
Anything
guys for
else?
tuning
Any
in.
closing thoughts from you, Darrell, before we wrap it up?
Just thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, and I hope to see you on the LAC.
All right. Thank you. Good evening. Have a great evening.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.